Hello, Internet. I'm Evan Dashevsky, features editor with PCMag.com. Welcome to the convo. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about nerds. Now, that word might be an insult in some circles, but not here.
No,
not here at PCMag. We love nerds. We venerate nerds of all kinds as beautiful, wonderful, sexy, and important creatures. Nerds are the people who built the modern world, they keep it running, and they may just be the ones to save it. Well, that's kind of the premise of today's guest's new book, Everything All at Once, How to Unleash Your Inner Nerd, Tap into Radical Curiosity, and Solve Any Problem. My guest today is probably best known for his work on Bill Nye the Science Guy and the current Netflix series Bill Nye Saved the World. But he is much more than a handsome face they found at Central Casting to play a science guy. My guest today earned his nerd cred working as an engineer in the aerospace industry. He is currently the CEO of the Planetary Society and a tireless advocate for science. Bill Nye, welcome to the convo.
It's so good to be convoed.
Now, for those of you
conversing, vo-wise.
Now, for those of you at home, the show is called The Convo, not The Dialogue. Our time is somewhat limited today, but if you have any questions, ask them in the comments, and Social Pete will read them throughout the show.
So besides syllables, what's the difference between dialogue and conversation?
Well, the convo is when a lot of people are involved, like an internet term, whereas a dialogue would just be me and you.
Just two people.
Just
dialogue.
two people. Dialogue,
like
yeah.
bicycle.
Yes.
Like diode.
Yes.
A diode
Yep.
has two leads.
We're gonna do all sorts of grammar here throughout the show. Okay, so
hey, grammar is how we communicate.
Yep. Hey, Bill, I loved your new book.
Thank you.
The book is out today. It is
yes.
Great.
There's 20 in a carton. They make great gifts.
Absolutely. Now, one of my favorite chapters of the book, and I think I liked it so much because I read it over the 4th of July weekend, was about your ode to the founding fathers of this country.
Yes.
This
We're
is
in
a
the
nerd
United
country.
States internet,
yeah.
Greetings.
Yeah, and for everyone else, we love you too. But
well,
we're
in the U.S.
This is a nerd country built on a nerd constitution. Can you
Yes.
tell the people about the nerd foundings of this nation?
Well, to me, I mean, I'm not objective. I was born in the U.S. I grew up here. But the people who wrote the U.S. Constitution were very thoughtful. I mean, we're going to start a whole country from scratch. What could we do differently? Let's think about this. And they did. They thought deeply. And for better or for worse, U.S. culture is everywhere on Earth. I mean, everywhere I go, people understand enough English to get by.
Right.
And English came from the country that had this extraordinary Navy, but it's American English.
Sure.
No, it's just, and that to me is evidence that the U.S. culture has been exported because of the success. Now, there were a lot of natural resources here, but built into the U.S. government is change. And this is what's built into nature. Nature, evolution, things are always changing. And the things that don't need to change remain the same, but the things that do change. And that's cool. Absolutely. And speaking of changing governments, we're living in an extraordinary time here in the U.S.
We are.
And it's an extraordinary day, another one, and so we'll see what happens if things change.
Now, just to keep on the nerd tip, you have a bit of a nerdism in your blood.
Yes.
You talk about an invention that your dad made, which was so cool. This is something that should be a billion-dollar company. Perhaps you can start it. I don't think it's too late. Can you tell a little about this invention that your dad made?
Do you want the thanks sign?
The thanks sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my father would change lanes, driving a car. He'd cut somebody off.
As you do.
He'd be slowing down to take pictures of the odometer as it changed from 99,999 miles to 100,000 miles. This would be with a film camera. Excuse me. So this was.
You could talk to anybody.
It was a technology for storing images that involved a chemical process on very thin celluloid film. Never mind. It's a long story. So he'd be blocking somebody in traffic, and then the guy behind him, the person operating another motor vehicle, might be inclined to honk in typical anger. Well, here in New York, the town's so nice they named it twice. There's quite a bit of honking, even though it's nominally prohibited.
Right.
There's still a bit of honking. Anyway, he pulled a string at the rearview mirror, and on the back deck of the car would flip up the word thanks. Thanks. So the guy behind my dad would go, well, you know, aren't I a nice guy for letting that gentleman slam in front of me like that?
But we have
don't I feel good about myself for letting that guy slow down and take pictures of his odometer with a Pentax film camera? And so this was an innovation that has now been superseded by texting while you're driving, which could cause accidents and other things. But my brother and I, as the young people in the family, were charged with constructing various versions of the thank sign. I don't know if any of you ever owned cars, but you just don't start drilling holes in them. But my dad was willing to do that for the greater good.
Absolutely. Facebook, you have a question.
What's the best way to counter the growing anti-science bias in our country?
The best way to counter the growing anti-science bias in the U.S. is to buy this book. Perhaps I exaggerate.
Perhaps probably the second best thing.
Well, everybody, look, this anti-science thing that's going on right now cannot sustain itself. The question is, will the U.S. turn around before it gets worse and worse? Because what keeps the United States is influential culture. What keeps it in the game is, economically, is innovation. The United States does export a lot of food, a lot of grain. But what keeps the United States culture pervasive is these new ideas. The iPhone is a thing here at the computer
I've heard of it.
land.
Yeah.
No, it's a big hit. The kids are using it, the young people. They're all about the electric phones.
Guys. Yeah.
So this innovation is what keeps the U.S. super glue. Name another thing. Electric vehicles, really.
Tesla.
With Tesla, and now I'm driving, well, I'm sitting here with you, but I have a Chevy Bolt, which has turned out to be a very good car. There's some software issues, Bolters, very easy to fix display stuff, and I tell you, everybody, we'll get back to work in a second. But just look at the old Toyota Prius. They solved some touchscreen issues that the Bolt has got to go catch up on. All right, now that aside, these innovations are what keep the U.S. in the game, and innovation comes from science. So the denial of science will not sustain. Rick Perry is now in charge of the Department of Energy, a department that he proposed closing. But he is discovering, thanks to professionals in the Department of Energy, what the Department of Energy does. And it's important and new and cool. So we want to run the whole world. We want to provide electricity to everyone in the world renewably, principally from wind and solar energy, some geothermal, some tidal energy. And we could run the whole world right now renewably. I would like, as a U.S. native with an engineering degree and engineering license from the U.S., I want the U.S. to lead in this, not run around waving their hands pretending the climate's not changing.
So you think we could do it all with the technology we have today? Because a lot of the arguments I hear are that the technology is not there yet. So we need to do.
No, even energy storage is not that hard a problem to solve. But we do want to electrify all ground transportation. A big challenge is air transportation. And for that, right now, it looks like the most promising thing will be hydrogen fuel, hydrogen turbines. I was in Japan a few months ago, and there's hydrogen-powered cars all over the place, and they have hydrogen refueling stations. So they're experimenting. Although hydrogen is nominally doesn't have the same specific energy, or if you have a cubic meter of hydrogen, you don't have as much energy as a cubic meter of gasoline. But the longest journey starts with but a single step. Let's go. Let's get to work. Internet. Pete.
Did you meet Tyler, the creator, for your new theme song?
Yeah. He's a cool guy. He's having fun. Yeah, Tyler, the creator, he's my man. It's good.
I just want to go back to the science denialism. Now, you had a famous kind of viral debate with a creationist.
Young Earth creationist.
Now, how would you gauge what you give your legitimacy to versus what you actually take on to debate? Like, would you ever debate a flat earther?
No. Hey, flat earthers, go out there and take a picture. Of where the edge of the Earth is, and send it to everyone. Oh, they won't let you see the edge of the. Who is they? Dude, look at the pictures from space. What, are you high? For crying out loud, the Earth is not flat. You can travel in any direction, infinitely, and never fall off. Like, dude, that's so out there. Because it's a ball. For crying out loud, flat earthers. And my beloved Neil deGrasse Tyson spends time trying to respond to these guys.
Right.
No, enough. Move on.
But why would you take on a creationist but not the flat earth?
Oh, because
Yeah.
of the young people.
Okay.
So we have, every day, people talk about how the recent U.S. presidential election went because the progressives didn't reach the heartland, people in the interior of the United States. Well, this is the area, or many of the areas, where people proudly call themselves hillbillies. I have some hillbilly people in Danville, Virginia, which isn't hardcore Appalachia, but it's on the fringe. And these are people who, for reasons that aren't clear, act against their own self-interest. So we, in scientific community, want to engage those people so that they start acting in their own best interest. And we are all in this thing together as we were 70 or 80 years ago during World War II. Not that World War II was a great thing, but the U.S. was very much united at that time. So the young people in the Kentucky area, influenced by the young Earth creationists, really stand to fall behind, not become part of your computer culture or technology culture that we have here. If they are not shown the fundamentals of science. What do we do here? We have physics. We have transistor logic. We have a lot of software. We have object code. We have all sorts of exciting things. We have some optics with charge coupled device sensors on the back end of those. So we want people who are engaged in all that. So the reason I took on the young Earth creationists there in Kentucky was to raise awareness of the very bad work these people are doing to young people. And along that line, that debate has had 7 million views, something like that. So that means about 7 million people have an interest in it.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of science teachers who say they use it in class to show the counter arguments to these specious claims about the Earth being 6,000 years old or whatever it is. So it's the young people that got me concerned there.
Gotcha.
And I'm still very concerned. So what happened, everybody, they were going to go out of business. Answers in Genesis was going to go out of business. Did the debate, then they say they got millions of dollars. They wrote me a letter saying they didn't get millions of dollars because of the debate, which I think was a specious thing. They have 3 entities. They move money around. Crosswater Creek, Ark Encounter, Answers in Genesis. They move money to not pay taxes. But what happened was the voters of Kentucky elected a creationist governor who appointed a creationist tourism board, who then got backing from a creationist federal judge. That's what's gone wrong. It's endemic, it's systemic there. But we are going to reverse this, people.
Facebook, you have a question.
Is there a common ground where Christianity and science can exist, or are they mutually exclusive?
What's wrong with Christianity? Knock yourselves out. The Pope is very concerned about climate change. But the Earth's not 6,000 years old. If that's part of your religion, I really encourage you to reconsider that. The Earth cannot possibly be that young. So Christianity, people get great sense of community. They support Christians seem to support each other in many ways. And the difference between Christianity and Muslim faith, and of course, Muslims have all this Jesus stuff in their paperwork. I don't see any incompatibility, but the 6,000-year-old thing is wrong.
Facebook, you have a question.
Did you ever play your CD-ROM game Stop the Rock? If so, what was your best time?
Stop the Rock, everybody, I apologize.
Yeah, sure.
It's a game from almost 25 years ago, and I don't think it was very well designed, and it was written by people who really wanted to have all these characters introduced, and they were interested in performing on camera and so on, and the game didn't work out very well. But the idea of preventing an asteroid impact is still very much on my mind and is very much in the mission of the Planetary Society, which I am now the CEO. There is no evidence that the ancient dinosaurs had a space program, and that was to their detriment. You know, there was an impact that was problematic. Would be wipe. Yeah, for civilization.
Yeah,
the wipe thing.
Slide left.
Control, Alt, Delete.
Yeah.
It's one of those things for civilization. So we have the ability to deflect an asteroid. but we don't have the capability. We have the knowledge to deflect an asteroid. We don't have the capability. We want to put that in place and be ready.
A few questions. I know your time is limited, but a question I always wanted to ask you: how do you pronounce the name of the 7th planet from the sun?
The 7th? Oh, Uranus, you mean?
Okay, Uranus. That's the science guy pronunciation.
Yeah.
Is it time to change the name of that planet?
Why?
Because there's so many puns to be made.
Oh, sorry. I'm older than that now.
Yeah.
I've gotten all the way out of 3rd grade.
Sure.
I'm good. I made it.
All right, Uranus, you're here to stay.
Yeah. No, it was a Greek god. It was, a Roman god.
Yeah. Have you ever met Beekman from Beekman's World?
Yeah. Oh, Paul Zaloom. Yeah,
Sure,
yeah. Oh, BT Dubs.
Yeah.
Mark Waxman, who was one of the producers of Beekman's World, is not living anymore. When I met him, he was a smoker. Don't smoke. Anyway, yeah, Paul Zaloom's a good guy. He's an artist. He's an actor.
Facebook, you have a question.
At what point do you think we'll be able to freely travel our solar system?
Freely travel the solar system. I think I know what you mean. It costs the planetary planetary science line item in the NASA budget is $1.8 billion. That's not enough for people to travel freely, if I understand your question. However, it is enough to send extraordinary spacecraft to Mars and Europa, Mercury. Juno is now orbiting Jupiter. We're going to have a solar sail going out to Jupiter by JAXA, Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency. The Cassini spacecraft around Saturn is about to crash in to get one last big chunk of data before it goes in. So everybody, we want to support planetary exploration. If you think you want to settle on Mars, I encourage you to try settling on the ice sheet in Greenland and see what you think.
So you're not
There's
down with...
nothing to eat. You will notice that very soon. If you want to play fair and pretend you're on Mars, there's nothing to breathe there. So if you go live on a dome on Mars and you want to go outside, you're not really outside. You're putting on a spacesuit to be in a smaller dome.
So do you doubt Elon Musk's plan to start a Martian city?
I don't think he's thought it through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And to avoid the word colony, because colonization has led to all kinds of problems. He's for South Africana originally. But we don't want to, we want to say settling. But you don't want to settle on Mars, you guys. You're just not thinking it through. Science base is one thing. Living on Mars is a whole nother.
Okay, so we do a lightning round with the same 10 questions.
A lightning round, here we go. Lightning round, hit it. Hotter than the sun, you know.
Sure.
Typical lightning bolt, the surface of the sun. And yet we're all okay.
So these are short answers, but the floor is yours if you want to go long.
But I'm doing the answering.
You're doing the answering, yes.
42.
Okay.
Isn't that the answer?
No, the questions first.
Okay,
yeah.
That's Hitchhiker's.
Easy. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you use Windows or Mac?
Oh, Mac. Sorry. I love you all. And I'm an engineer.
Yeah.
But one is easy to use and the other isn't.
Android or iOS?
iOS. Yeah.
iOS, okay.
Yeah. Now, once you're in the Apple ecosystem, you guys, it's hard. It's very appealing.
Yeah.
The other day, my phone was taken. I did find my phone, and I got it back.
Oh. Well, you could do that with Android too, just to
Now.
give Android a shout out.
Now.
Yeah, now.
And look, you guys, it's all. I mean, I may be wrong, but you asked, and that's what I've chosen.
Maybe you just answered the next question already. Is have you recently come across a piece of technology and made you think, "Wow, I'm really living in the future"?
Well, just when you can get the weather report, you can tell which side of the street you're on using satellite information. That is really something. When you can go get these perfect NV apples, that's because the orchard has been perfectly watered using agricultural data from satellites. That's kind of the future. But I told it, we're time travelers, but we're only going one way. That sucks.
When you're waiting in line at the store, what is the first app you open on your phone to pass the time? Does Bill and I have to wait in line at the store?
Wait in line at the store. So this is where you and I are different.
Okay.
I very seldom think I have time to pass. If things go really well for you, you live 30,000 days. You live to be 82 years old in a month and a little bit, a month and 3/4, 7 weeks. So I don't play any video games on my phone while I'm in line. I'll check email, message my friends about the most important price of fish or something, but I don't. I really admire you all that play video. You play card games on your phone. I don't. I'm not in that. I'm not in your league. I've always got too much to. I always feel as though I have too much to do.
Ed Snowden, traitor or hero?
I don't know enough about it, but my mother, was a code breaker, or apparently. She worked for the Navy on the Enigma code, and my whole life people would say to her, "What did you do during the war?" The war, for people of her age, was World War II. She would say, "I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it." So I am very respectful of secret information. However, I also remember when Richard Nixon chose to resign because he had committed some sort of petty crimes. Out of mean-spiritedness, he lost sight of what was important in government officials. And so I see both sides, but in general, you shouldn't give away U.S. secrets. You should work the problem another way, in my opinion.
Will the singularity occur in 2054?
The singu-freaking-larity.
Not a fan. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how old are you, Ray?
Kurzweil. Yeah.
You're gonna be 80 at just the right moment to have your brain transferred to an electronic circuit. Wow, way to go. I am open-minded but skeptical.
Okay.
You may be right. This idea, look, everybody, because it's a fun word, apoptosis. Are you down with apoptosis?
I don't know apoptosis.
Yeah, you do. It's our cells, our DNA is programmed to die. And this is part of evolution. If organisms didn't die, there wouldn't be mutations to have the organisms be able to fit into the new ecosystem as things change around you. And the word fit in, the phrase fit in, I choose carefully. Darwin said survival of the fittest. He didn't mean the people that did the most weight training. He meant the organisms that fit in the ecosystem the best, before the term ecosystem was coined or common usage. So our cells are programmed to die. However, our brain cells, many of them are not. Many of them you get and you have them your whole life. When I watch the way people age, the way my grandmother, who was encyclopedic about genus and species of wildflowers, as I watched her get dementia, I am very skeptical that you can download your brain into a circuit. If you have a grain of sand, that is the equivalent of a few thousand, the volume is equivalent of a few thousand brain cells, which then result in a few tens of thousands of connections. That's a long way off, you guys. Best of luck to you out there. I'm not counting on the singularity. It may bring it on. I don't think it'll happen. What is it, 12 years?
2054, thereabout.
Yeah.
Okay, just a few other
If you go just by Moore's Law, I don't think you're going to get there.
Okay, a few other quick questions because we're running low on time. Intelligent life out there in the universe.
Gotta be.
Gotta be? Okay. Bigfoot out there stomping around.
Nope.
Okay. What is
Give me one picture. You guys, there are 4 billion pictures taken a day. Can I get one UFO? Can I get one Bigfoot? Get freaking over it.
What is your go-to drink at the bar?
Martini.
Martini, okay.
Gin. I don't understand the vodka people, but you guys knock yourselves out. I will say, though, when you get fresh grapefruit juice, I am sympathetic to the Greyhound. I mean, I get it, but it's not really my drink of choice.
We're in the golden age of television. Aside from any of your shows, what are you watching these days?
Oh, well, you guys, Silicon Valley makes me
great.
crazy.
Yeah.
I want to kill myself.
Oh, you don't like it? Okay.
No, I worked with all of those people.
Yeah.
I knew the 30-year-ago equivalent of each of those guys and gals. It's just, oh man. But you just, it's like watching a fabulous train wreck. The writing is great. The performances are great. But once again, it's the writing that's so strong.
Absolutely.
I mean, the actors are great. I mean, great. Super.
Pete, do we have a short question that we can get into?
Do you fear the robot
good.
apocalypse?
No. Humans design robots. I got to hear on an elevator, you type in the floor you want, and the elevator takes you there because we wrote the software. It didn't come out of the sky. Humans made it up. I'll go to the airport, I'll get on a train from Terminal X to Terminal Y, and it'll work. It will take into account how much I weigh, how much luggage I weigh, and everybody else who's on the train, the time of day. It'll take that into account. It won't smash into the other train in front of it. We can do this, people. We build the freaking robots, crying out loud. The problem is, if the internet is so pervasive and there's so many hackers and you lose control of it, that could be troublesome. So we have to protect the information on the internet. All our banking, all our transactions, and our transportation systems depend on reliable information. You've got to take this seriously. Cybersecurity is a big doggone deal. In the same way, my mom said it was not every day, but often enough in Washington, D.C., you would see people get on the trolley, back when Washington had an above-ground rail system, with a briefcase handcuffed to their wrist. It was common enough in World War II, because it was important. So we got to do the same thing with the internet today. We got to keep it from going out of control and producing racist tweets that cause global conflict. However, if people are savvy enough, have critical thinking skills that are well enough developed, when something like that goes wrong, the out of control tweets that were automated in some way, people will have the wisdom to realize that's not authentic.
I think we're wrapping up here now, unless we have anything else.
We're out of
Pete?
ideas. Pete, anything?
Anything else?
Do you believe in aliens?
Do I believe in aliens? If I understand that question, yes. Furthermore, I very much want the U.S. space program in particular, as well as Japanese Aerospace, Indian Space Research Organization. Vietnam has a space agency, Roscosmos. I want everybody to get together and appreciate how the world would change, how profound it would be to find evidence of life on another world. And the two worlds that I'm all hot for are the frozen, icy moon of Jupiter, Europa, which has twice as much seawater as the Earth. I'm open-minded about Enceladus, and orbiting Saturn. But the other one is Mars. I want to tune spacecraft, design spacecraft, that we know are sterile enough to go to where the water is on Mars, even if it turns out not to be in the recurring slope lineae, the RSLs, they thought were water, now people aren't so sure. There is ice water on Mars. Go there and look for signs of life. Everywhere on Earth, there's dampness, there's something alive. If we were to discover evidence of life on Mars, or stranger still, something alive on Mars, some sort of Mars probe, it would change the world. And we do it for $1.7 billion a year. That's noise. That's, you know, a fighter plane costs half of that. So let's do this, everybody. We shall build a spacecraft capable of finding life on Mars. We shall not contaminate Mars. Let's do those things, put them in the so-called mission requirements, and then the discovery would be akin to Copernicus or Galileo. It would be world-changing. I'm not saying that everybody in the U.S. would suddenly drive on the other side of the street. It would be slow but profound. People everywhere would view being a living thing in the cosmos differently.
All right, Bill, I think we're at, that's our
Evan,
time.
this has been nothing but fun.
I've been trying.
Pete, is that his name?
Social Pete.
Social Pete.
Yeah.
Social Pete. It's been nothing but fun.
I've been trying to get you in here for about a year and a half. I'm so happy we can finally do it.
You should go home and get some rest.
Okay, the new book is out now, Everything All at Once.
20 in a carton.
Yep.
They make great gifts. The eclipse is coming up.
August 18th.
Check out the eclipse glasses branded to me. And the Planetary Society, the world's largest space interest organization advancing space science and exploration so that citizens of Earth will know the cosmos and our place within it. Elevator door closes. Check us out, and if you're looking for the glasses, check out teachersource.com, a woman-owned business I've been a big fan of for decades. Let's change the world, you guys. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Evan.
If anybody's watching this for the first time, give us a like, give us a share. We really appreciate those. Check out some of our past interviews. We've done a lot of good ones. Subscribe to the audio podcast on iTunes and all the other places. Bill's going to be subscribing. And as always, thanks to everyone who joined in the conversation. Thanks to Social Pete. Thanks to Weston. Thanks to Paul, who's back from paternity leave. Thanks to
Welcome
Jono.
back, Paul. Nicely done.
Thanks to the gang.
His role was small, but important.
Thanks to the Peanut Gallery back here. And as always, be good to each other.
Be good to each
Peace.
other. Carry on.